Well, hello, and welcome to ZBrush Live. And we will be starting a new season today, so a new project. Now, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. So if 5 a.m., okay, well, I mean, 5 a.m. isn't that bad. I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. That's not too bad. Okay, so if you guys can hear me okay on YouTube and Twitch, just give me a holler in chat and let me know so that I can continue on. Let's see here. Like, subscribe, do all the internet stuff. It helps. And also it keeps you in touch with what is happening on ZBrush Live. A lot happening actually lately. And so, definitely subscribe. And leave a comment, anything that you want. I know this is live, but it's also recorded, so some people might be watching this after the fact. And if you are watching it after the fact and you want to comment, please do so. We check them every once in a while. And if you have any questions, you can ask during the stream, or you can leave them as a comment, and hopefully we can get back to you, or you can catch me on my next stream. I'm doing one more in 2 Fridays. And then I'm taking the week off because of the ZBrush Summit. So, I think the chat is already starting to pop stuff in. There's a sculpt off, so register for that. If you want to participate, it's fun. If you're a streamer or you know how to stream, it's an easy thing to do. 3 hours of sitting there and sculpting, it's a lot of fun. And also, hey, loud pickaxe or loud picks, pick, I don't know, loud pick. You're welcome. And I'm working for, okay, loud pack. Okay, awesome. Cool name. All right, so I'm waiting for a character model, body parts, separate tutorial, or showing eyes. Oh, Ice Purple crying is an emoji. I just found out about that last time. So, okay, well, I mean, we are going to be doing a character. Loud pack like weed. Okay, awesome. All right, so... yeah, I guess you guys can hear me okay since you are responding to what I'm saying. I guess YouTube is good. If anybody on Twitch can chime in, that would be great. Wow, there's quite a few of you watching. I'm surprised because it's a 3-day weekend here in the US. So a lot of people are not at home or not able to watch. Okay. All right. So interestingly enough, okay, cool. So YouTube is good. If somebody can chime in on Twitch, I'm sure Twitch is fine too. Otherwise, somebody would have jumped in and yelled and screamed that they can't hear. Okay, so what are we going to do? I kind of didn't plan this one out. I am just going to wing it and see what happens. So this could be a throwaway stream, meaning we could work on something and I'm not continue it. Or we might do something really cool. I was looking at some stuff online. I'll bring my reference sheet over so you guys can see. The internet seems to be flooded nowadays with people doing the prompt thing and creating AI artwork. I know it's a very controversial subject, but it also is kind of what's happening. So so you can see here, these are some images from some various artists that I follow that are doing AI work. And I mean, you can see some really cool stuff in here. Get some really cool ideas. However, if you really spend a little bit of time and look at these closely, you can see some glaring issues. For example, if you zoom in on this area, I don't know what the heck is happening in here. So it's all subject to interpretation. But as an image, as a whole, they kind of look impressive, right? So, and also, I don't know if you all heard, but in the US, a judge ruled that AI images are not copyrightable. So if you create a prompt and you create this image, let's say, and this is kind of your pride and joy, and you want to copyright it, you can't. So you'd have to either modify it or you would have to do significant amount of modifications for it to be accepted. Now, I'm sure there will be cases about this and there will be a lot of controversy about it. But in the meantime, they're great to use as reference images. And so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to kind of get inspired by some of these and create my own work. I mean, the things I'm talking about is kind of look it up here. Like, see, like the lighting is kind of weird. I mean, it's kind of tried to be symmetric, but it's not. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So none of this stuff is usable as far as, an object model is concerned, but it is good inspiration. I don't know how it's kind of finding out about making things look like this, but there are some really interesting looks here, really interesting ideas. And I'm going to be a human intelligence and actually go ahead and try and decipher this and kind of, take it back from AI and bring it back to humanity. So interestingly enough, I saw this cartoon as well. So, I could just replace this concept artist with AI here and says, my job is done here. Hey, this won't work in 3D. And then, he disappears. So kind of a thing from The Simpsons that I thought was funny. But yeah, kind of a meme that I thought would be ideal for this, because a lot of these are really interesting looking, but they will not work in 3D. So, so the objective of this stream will be to go ahead and look at the stuff, and kind of come out with something like that. Midjourney is amazing, but it's really not. Like I'm already bored of it. It's just one of these things where it was really cool when it was new and it was original, but I'm kind of already seeing the limitations. I can see kind of where things are going with AI. I think the next, first they kind of started to go outside the image, so you can zoom out and you can add stuff around it. I think the next big leap they have to make is to be able to take an object and be able to look at it from different angles. But there's just so many different things right now, so much noise that I'm just basically going to use it for what I think it's good for. I didn't study all this time to be a prompt artist, and it's really boring to me. If that's what art becomes, then I don't know if that's what I want to be doing. I mean, for work, maybe for art direction or whatever, it might make sense if there's a time crunch or whatever. But in the pure enjoyment of making art, I think AI is kind of, it falls short. Anyway, so much for that dissertation. Yeah, see, it's very boring. I mean, you get the same kind of images. I mean, these images that I showed you are from different artists, but you wouldn't know that. It all looks like it's from the same artist. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just starting out with a simple cube. Usually this is what my ZBrush starts out with, and the way I make it start out this way is I just basically initialize a Q cube. So I just go down to here, initialize, and change these resolutions to 1, click on Q cube, and then I use the Z script or Z plugin, sorry, that Joseph Drust made ages ago called the Z Startup utility. This thing is as good as gold. And in that utility, in that plugin, you can choose to start with the current object. So store current tool. So this is what it starts with. So it starts with a cube. It starts in edit mode. So I don't have to go and press all the buttons and kind of get it in this mode. ZBrush is just ready to go. And this is kind of how I prefer to get started. But it's my, that's how I like it. Other people might have different options. Okay. All right. So we have somebody asking a question. Tried to create famous character in Modern Warfare 3 face green. Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know what you're saying, A363. Maybe you can third-party game engine for a question. Can you write a third-party game engine? I don't know. Can you? I don't know if I can answer that question. And let's see, what else are you saying? Okay. All right. Great. So anyway, so the first thing I'm going to do here is just kind of start out with a volume, and I'm just going to, QMesh is really good for kind of starting out with that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, if you press and pull out, you basically will create another geometry. But also, if you hold Shift down, you push it in. So I'm just going to push this in a little bit, like so. And let's see, bring bottom out and bring out some sides. Let's turn symmetry on, like so. And I should mention, if you are not on ZBrush 2023.2.2, make sure you upgrade to that version. It used to be a free upgrade, of course, it's no longer. So if you are a subscriber, you can just go to the Maxon app and just get it. And I highly recommend you do, because besides fixing bugs, they introduced, I don't know if they introduced anything in this one. They might have. You might want to watch their streams. I think it's getting to a point where they're creating micro versions, and then sometimes they add some new stuff. So it's going to be kind of difficult to know what was added when, but the good news is we're getting a lot more updates than we did before. So, all right. So here I'm just kind of playing around with just QMesh, just getting some sort of a volume. And I don't really care about anything else except kind of roughly what it looks like. And what's nice here is I can use the gizmo and just start. I'm adding an edge loop here, and maybe add one over here, and maybe I don't need this one, and then just pull this out like so. Bring it in. All right, I'm kind of going for this type of look maybe a little bit with this one. But I'm really liking this kind of skull in the helmet look as well. So I don't know, I might change course at some point. But for now, I think we are good. Let me move this out of the way. And all right. Well, I mean, I don't know. If I do the other one, I'll start with the skull. There are a bunch of skulls in ZBrush that you can use, and of course you can always bring in your own if you have them. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and bring one in. Why not? Okay, so I'm just going to hit comma, and so it's so funny because every time that Paul does this, he sings the Culture Club song. And so now every time I hit comma, I'm thinking of that song, which is kind of funny. Anyway, the two skulls, one of them is in the, if you go to Tool here, and I think this guy over here, where is he? The NixZ guy has a skull inside. So if you just go to Subtools, there is a skull right there. And there's also the inside part of the mouth. So the skull doesn't have teeth, but the teeth are in here. So I need to grab these two. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that and paste it. Actually, I'll just go the other way. It'll be easier. So I don't really need this guy. I'm going to delete him. Yep. And I definitely don't need that hair or the eyes. I just need the skull. All right, there it is. And let me see if it has subdivisions. Does it? It does not, which is even better. So it's kind of it gives me the freedom. And actually, I don't really need the gums and the mouth. So I'm going to do a selection on this. Let me go to that subtool, select that, Control A, invert it. So I just have the teeth. And then just delete the hidden parts over here. And just go, if I bring the skull back, then I'll have the skull with teeth. And this is kind of a good, simple one to start from. I'm going to turn perspective off for a minute. And mirroring is on, symmetry is on, good. And then I'm just going to go to the move brush and maybe just kind of get, I don't really want this to be an, a human skull. I'm just going to kind of go ahead and modify some things here for it to kind of be more of some sort of a. And then I'm going to also make this whole thing a lot longer. I don't know where my gizmo is. There is the gizmo, and I don't want to. I want to turn symmetry off for a minute. Place this in the center, and I want to grow this thing out and kind of mess with its perspective. So I want the teeth to move along with it. So I'm going to use this icon here, which is the pizza boxes icon, which will basically manipulate all the objects, so the teeth are getting longer as well. And I don't know if I want the teeth to be this long, and I might just Dynamesh this thing into one big thing. So here, let's try this out. I'm going to duplicate both of these guys, and instead of working on it separately, I'm just going to merge them together because, again, it doesn't really matter. So here, merge down. Okay, yep. Okay, so, oh, what's hidden? Are the teeth? I thought I deleted the teeth. What's going on? Anything hidden here? No. Anything hidden here? Ah. So I didn't do delete hidden. I thought I did. All right, we'll do it one more time. Delete hidden. Oh, yeah, that's right. This mesh has layers. No problem. We'll go ahead and bake all. Okay, let's just record. Oh, I don't want to do that. Delete that one. And let's just delete that one too. Here we go. All right, so now we don't have that problem anymore. Invert that, delete hidden. And we are good to go. All right. And the layers are because if you don't know that model, the layers open and close the mouth. So probably the teeth and the mouth open and close. All right. So one thing I want to do before I do this, and I'm going to do the merge. Actually, before I do the merge, I'm going to go ahead and use my inflate brush and just inflate the base of these teeth a little bit. So they kind of do this. So instead of going into the mouth, I want them to kind of come out a bit. And again, I don't really need to be too precious with this. I'm just kind of playing around. Maybe something like this. I don't want them to be like tubes. I want them to be more like, kind of respecting this bit of part of the mouth of the skull here. Okay, so now that I've got that, I'm just going to merge this down. Okay, so now it's all one subtool. And then I'm just going to, I don't really need different polygroups for the teeth right now. And I'm also going to just mirror and weld this, so I basically have symmetry on both sides. Okay, still have layers? I guess the top one had layers too. Not a problem. We can always delete the layers, and now we don't have that problem anymore. Okay. Mirror and weld X. Okay, so now I know that it is mirrored on both sides. And now I'm going to just try and Dynamesh this and see what I get. All right, I like that a lot, but I'm also going to, so I'm going to do that. and then duplicate it. So I have a copy of that, and then go back to the initial one. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm actually going to give it a little bit more geometry. So right now it's at 128. I'm going to go for 512 and Dynamesh it that way. And that gives me something a little bit different, and it's still kind of cool. But before I do that, the reason why it's faceted is because this is using a dynamic subdiv. So this is what the actual skull looks like, but if I press D or dynamic subdivision, it smooths it out for me like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'm going to apply the dynamic subdivisions, and that basically will give me 3 subdivision levels, which I don't really need, so I'm going to delete the lower ones, and this is kind of what I'm left with, and this is what I want to Dynamesh. Okay, oh, did Dynamesh go back to its original? It did. So I'm just going to kind of drag this over, and about 1,000 is kind of what this area is, so that's fine. I'll just Dynamesh it at that. Here we go. This is kind of what I'm looking for. This is perfect, so I've got this, and I also have this other one, which kind of is pretty cool. Kind of a happy accident. I don't want to do everything, but it's a happy accident. So this could kind of be maybe some sort of a visor or something that can go over the skull. So I'm just going to keep that for now, kind of put it in my back pocket. I don't really need these old ones. I mean, I can just put them in a folder for now, and then maybe if I need them again, I will. So I just usually create a build folder, and I usually put stuff that I'm not going to be using in this folder, so I can just hide them with one quick click. All right, so now I've got this one right here, and I don't need the polyframe on it, and so this is kind of what I'm going to be sketching on. And this is going to be the inside part of the helmet, right? So I'm just going to go to Damien Standard here, or actually I'm just going to go to H-Polish, and let me turn symmetry back on. Actually, I'm going to use move first and just kind of create something a little bit more ominous. Maybe something like this. Skull is kind of like it to be a little bit more like this. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go get that thing that I did before, copy it, and paste it into here. That's going to be kind of the helmet that goes on top. So paste. All right. So you can see here that the scale is kind of wonky, but it's fine. I'm just going to move this up, turn transparency on, and just bring it down around the skull here. So that's going to be part of the helmet that I'm going to create. And again, I haven't really decided on this. It's kind of a design project right now where I don't really have anything. I don't have like existing artwork or anything that I'm going off of. I'm just basically looking at my references and kind of free-form sculpting just to get something that seems interesting to me. And I'm trying to bring these parts in. Again, nothing really matters at this point. It's just kind of you know, looking at the white piece of paper and sketching out lines just to kind of get an idea of what I want to build. All right, let's see. Do you guys have any things that you've mentioned? Nope. All right. No questions, no observations. Anybody going to the ZBrush Summit that's watching? In LA at the end of the month. Let's see. Nobody's responding. Everybody is in silent mode. Okay. All right. So now that I've got the skull underneath, so this skull is just basically a Dynamesh model. And Olicron, you can't. Are you not in LA? I guess if you're not in LA, then it could be expensive. But it's a free thing. If you are in LA, it's just, you know, you have to drive, and there's plenty of parking around there, so parking won't be an issue. All right. So here I'm just going to use clay buildup, And I can use plenty of other different things, but I'm just going to use clay buildup here to just build a little bit of a, you know, an ominous type of, you know, since this is going to be some sort of you know, a battle type of helmet. Oh, you're in New York. Okay. Well, if you're in New York, you can always watch it online, right? You can always all right, so I'm gonna turn on Ghost here so I can work through. Not that I need that outside part. Actually, I'm gonna hide that part and turn off transparency. And here I'm just kind of trying to get some sort of a and I'm going to be putting a lot of kind of electronics and stuff on this skull too. It's not just going to be a skull. So it's basically some sort of a, you know, a machine that basically a game character or something that basically has a bunch of kind of has a skull for, you know, just kind of denoting that it means business, kind of like the Terminator. Right, and again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but just enough. I should not have gotten rid of the eyes. Oh well, I can always put new eyeballs in. That's not a big deal. But, you know, start out with something kind of like this. It's going to be hard for me not to start getting into putting details on, but I don't want to do that until I have something kind of more ready to go. All right, so there's this one right here, which kind of has an interesting shape, but I'm going to go ahead and zero mesh this. Maybe keep the, you know, double the count, why not? And see what I get. So I get something like this, which is fine. And this is going to be kind of the outside helmet. I want this to be a little bit round, so I'm going to use a deformation here called Spherize, and I have it right here, but it's in the deformation palette, and I don't know if that's spherizing it or what is it doing. Actually, there's another way I can do this too, and this is a pretty neat way of doing it. I can go in here and do a insert project primitive, do that. Right, and then as I grow this out, it will kind of create that sphere shape. Now the problem is it's really kind of mucking with the geometry right now, but I don't really care. I don't really care that it is because right now no topology matters. It's just basically sketching, and this is kind of okay, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and accept that. Like that, and so now I've got this kind of wonky geometry, but that's okay. I can just always go and zero mesh it like so, and I'll get something better, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah, that's not bad. I didn't have symmetry on, so I'm going to do that one more time, this time with symmetry. And you know, I could also Dynamesh it, but I'm just kind of going to keep it as quads for now, just for kicks. Right, so there's the helmet part, and of course this front part is kind of interesting, but I don't really need it. Am I showing the skull in the back? I am. All right, so I'm just going to push this in so the skull comes through. Okay, so I think I need to turn transparency on and do a little bit of alignment here. Since I added that thing, this became bigger, so I'm just going to realign it. And turn ghost off so I can kind of see the skull inside. And yeah, maybe a little bit smaller. maybe something like that. Okay, cool. And now I'm just going to use Damien Standard to go in here and start digging in to this form so I can see the skull. So I'm just going to keep digging in until the skull pops out. Here we go. And the geometry is cooperating. It's not bad. I will Dynamesh it if it starts giving me trouble. So slowly the skull is starting to appear. And maybe lift these up. Again, I'm looking at these reference images just to kind of get an idea of I'm looking at to get an idea of kind of where to put these things. Yeah, I think it would be useful to watch the stream or the ZBrush Summit live because you can win stuff. And right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to Dynamesh this thing now. I'm just going to Dynamesh it at a, let's see, let's pick a, let's pick a higher resolution. Like this is good. Let's just Dynamesh it. I think maybe a little bit higher. Something like that. All right, so again, I'm just, right now I'm just playing around, just trying to get some convincing kind of form to work with this. Now that I've got this, I'm going to push it forward and go to Damien Standard and start kind of figuring out how this would work. Still haven't posted the renders from my last season just because I'm actually creating another diorama as well. I like the one I created, but I'm also going to create one more, which is a little bit more ambitious and big. So, still will take me a few days. I'm not really doing anything for this weekend coming up, so that might be some time I can spend working on it. All right, this is looking very much like a Pumpkinhead Halloween thing, which is kind of interesting, but it's cool. So here I'm just kind of establishing the forms and the planes for this. So this can go in, like so. And I kind of plan on doing this as a whole body, so it's not just going to be the head, it's also going to be the body. And I kind of started sketching around a little bit. I had some time last night, so I do have if this kind of goes horribly bad, I do have another fallback sculpt that I started that actually was starting to look pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to go to Clip Curve and I can take this part away, Dynamesh. And again, just really rough, kind of getting the proportions going. It's always good to kind of establish planes where things are just not looking right. Net Plazo. Okay, good question. So here, I'll do it in the menu itself. So here, let me do a couple of things here. This one doesn't need to be 12. I can start with 8. If you go down to the Dynamesh menu, right, under Geometry and Dynamesh, right, there's two things. There's the picker here, which is a button that you can use, or you can also, the same exact thing happens. So when you click on the resolution here and move to the canvas, see it turns into pick. And if you click on the picker, it does the same thing, right? So you can either click on the resolution or the picker, move to your canvas, and as you're moving on the canvas, you notice the resolution is changing. So you can kind of pick a resolution that kind of looks good, like you want this level of detail, and let go. And so the resolution is 522 now. So if you Dynamesh, then you will get that type of resolution, okay? It's a really cool feature that they added somewhere in the last few versions of ZBrush, and it's been a godsend. And I think Shane Olson, one of the streamers and also a great ZBrush person, requested that. So it's something that they implemented, and it was a great idea. Yeah, that is pretty useful. It's funny, there are certain features. I mean, they always keep adding new stuff, and they're all great stuff. But sometimes they add things that just become part of my workflow right away, and that's one of them. Especially with Dynamesh, it's kind of super, super useful. All right, so I'm just kind of thinking about, see, here's kind of the problem with AI is you kind of have to determine, okay, well, where does this helmet, you know, what are its limits? Where is it coming in? How big is it? So I'm trying to figure that out. Like, what are the edges of that helmet? And I'm just basically using a few brushes here. I'm using the Move brush. I'm using the Damien Standard brush. I'm just trying to get kind of some sort of a silhouette that looks interesting, and the silhouette actually does work. So I just have to make this inside part work as well. All right, so I don't really need all of this, so I'm going to get rid of the inside parts, and the way I'm going to do that is kind of the trick that I use, which is I'm just going to choose the parts that I want to show. And let me solo this, and all the parts that are inside I don't want. They're pointless, so I'm just going to extract out this part that I think is the helmet. So maybe, right? So then I'm just going to go into masking here and sharpen it like this. Yeah. Like that, sharpen mask. That's kind of cool right there. And I'm just going to use this plugin that I have called Extract Pro Plus. That will, where are you? Further down. And then what that'll do is just kind of give me just that part. So I kind of still have what was there before, but I don't need it. So I'm going to move that into the build folder, and now I've got this. And so now I kind of have borders that I can play around with, and I don't have to keep pushing that part in. I can just work with this part like this. Okay, and this is kind of raised up this way. And I'm going to use that trick again and Dynamesh this part, which is going to close holes, I think. Let's see if it does. Yep, it is. All right, let's just keep it as quads. All right, so Move brush. I think maybe I did this a bit too soon. Yeah, I think I did it a bit too soon. All right, let's bring this thing back. That's why having that build folder is useful, because you can always bring something back. Just in case. I'm going to pop this in the build folder for now and get back to working on here. I'll just use the inflate to just kind of gouge this stuff in. Oop. like so. Right. So this kind of stuff is what I usually do when I'm kind of in the ideation mode, just kind of playing around until I get some forms that look like the way I want them to. And then just, we'll polish those forms. And, I always wonder if this type of stuff is useful to do, or if I should be doing this kind of off screen and then just doing the finishing. But I think this might be useful to some people. And plus, like I said, this could be a throwaway episode where we'll do something else next time if something more interesting comes to mind. But right now, I just kind of was looking at those images and thinking that would be cool to kind of make something like that. And I wonder how much of a finished thing I will get to just in the 2 hours I have. Oops. Again, these are just, trying to find a good primary shapes and establish those. And the minute I do that and feel comfortable with it, we can get going on the rest of it. I definitely want to decouple this top part from the bottom part, but for now, I'm just kind of figuring out the shape of it. Let's work a little bit on the jaw. Right. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate this. This is another trick that I use all the time. And the first one, I'm going to color it a color. I'll just pick, let's say, orange. And fill object, and then the next one I'm just going to leave as, I'll change the color of that one to let's say like a color like that, fill object. So now I've got an orange one and one of these guys, and then I can start pushing and pulling one into the other just to get a different type of shape. So here, let's say I want some other parts extruding from the orange one. This way, right? And the orange piece is going to be a different one than this one. I think the colors are two. I'm going to get this to be something different. Let's just pick blue. There we go. And so yeah, these are intersecting each other, and that's kind of useful for getting different types of shapes. So now I can just go in here and maybe delineate one from the other by just doing this. And here I'm just trying to get a plane to be protruding this way. All right, so this is just a different part of the helmet, and then I'll go to the orange part and then I'll start working on it. This is a technique that I showed some designers at Hyundai with designing cars, where they kind of use the same technique to design a car. Of course, I didn't really have this kind of flexibility because I was showing it to them using the sculpting tools in Maya, which is the program that they use, or they were going to use the sub-Ds in Alias when it came out, but for now they were practicing it in Maya, and I don't even know if Alias would have sculpting tools, but they had Maya, so they could use it. I was talking to them into using ZBrush, and they were looking into that at the time too. I don't know if they have. This was pre-COVID. Let's see. Does having this build folder consume memory or processing? It doesn't consume processing. I mean, it definitely does consume a little bit of memory, but I usually, like at some point, I offload that into a different subtool, and then I just get rid of it. I save it as its own tool, ZTL, in the project folder, and then just get rid of it. Okay, so let's do a save. A quick save here, and let me do something real quick here just for kicks. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, all right, so here I'm just kind of again establishing a different form. I mean, I've gone and into doing this like 3 different subtools sometimes. So 3 different colors. So here's 1, 2, and then I can do one more, and I'll pick the orange one and duplicate it. And for this one, I'll color it green, let's say. All right, so I have a green, orange, and blue one, and then each one of these will be its own thing, right? So the green would be like one part of this, right? And then I can just go in here. I'm going to add a little bit of resolution to the Dynamesh here. So let's see, what do we got? Let's go for 1024. So the green has a little bit more resolution, and I'm going to use that just to kind of establish some forms over here. So again, I can just kind of do a delta of one part from another, And like this could be its own piece right here. And then orange is its own piece as well. So now I'm on orange. I'm going to re-Dynamesh that one too. Let's see. Let's go to 1024 as well. And I'm kind of jumping the gun here a bit, which I'm not very happy about. And getting into kind of the more detail stuff. But it's still useful just because I want to get... And I just alt-click on each one of these objects so I can work on each one separately. Let's go to orange again. And orange is going to be the overarching helmet. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I glean a lot of these things from watching other artists work. And I think I saw an artist do the multiple pieces in a ZBrush Summit, as a matter of fact. I mean, you know, it's I can't stress this enough, but you will probably learn more at a ZBrush Summit watching the presentations than you would for a long time. Just because, you know, you get good artists and they want to show off some of the cool tricks that they use. So you get to kind of get a concentrated dump of some really cool techniques. All right. And the colors kind of make it look good too. I mean, they're horrible colors, but it still kind of gives you a distinction between the different parts. All right. So I'm going to also use this blue to be this bottom part. Or not blue, but this kind of bluish gray, which I can't seem to be selecting. Come on. Here we go. Again, re-Dynameshing. What's really cool here is this is just normal sculpting. I don't know if some people call it hard surface or whatever they call it, organic or whatnot. But basically, the way I view this is just it's sculpting. All right, let's switch to green. I'm pushing all three of these in. It's because I want to kind of show this area. And I'm not going for a normal skull kind of nostril here or nose. I'm just kind of, you know, taking some freedom here. So what's really cool now is that I'm working on 4 different objects at the same time. I'm working on the 3 helmet pieces and I'm working on the skull. go. And again, I don't really need to see the distinction between the teeth. I can always, the thing to do is just mask this bottom part. And then just bring this top part on over it, which creates a more convincing type of look. All right, the kid has started screaming. This kid better become an opera singer with this kind of voice that she's got. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you've watched my previous streams, I've got I've got a neighbor who's got a kid who just is always screaming, either crying, screaming, or playing, screaming. It's just like she's got one volume and it's maximum. All right. Again, I'm fighting not getting into secondary forms. I just want to get the primary forms to work. And again, this doesn't have to be a human skull. It could also be some sort of alien being. You know what's kind of funny is, like, I don't know how old this kid is, but I think she's about to go to school. And could you imagine, like, having to deal with this kind of thing as a school teacher? I'm sure they know how to deal with it. I'm sure it's not the first kid that's come in with, like, you know, volume 20. All right. All right, let's do some polish here on this orange bit. I'm just going to solo this out for a minute and just dig in. It's kind of funny when you hide the other pieces to see what you have as what remains. Let's just inflate this. All right, here we go. Unsolo it. All right, so the green parts are just this kind of front part, and then the orange is the rest of the helmet on the outside. All right. Soren Sella, how to download ZBrush? Well, you go to the Maxon website and you get a subscription, and then you get the Maxon app, and once you get the Maxon app, it will download it for you. Polish. All right. This is kind of starting to take shape, I think, more or less. It's kind of interesting to do it this way versus just building this thing out, because this is more playful and fun. How will I eventually split all my parts? Oh, you'll see. I'll do it. I mean, if we decide to go with this, and what I'm going to do at the end of the stream is take a vote as to whether this one's going to be a go or if we should just chuck it and start with something else. But I thought it would be interesting for me to kind of spend a night just, you know, giving you an idea. Sometimes I do this where I just basically sit around and just kind of play around, look at some references, and come up with some ideas. I've got a few folders full of these things. Some of them are good, some of them not so much, but I could pick it up later when something comes up. Like a lot of times when I get hired to do something, I have something to start with. I don't start from scratch unless it's something very, very specific, which, most of the times it is. But even then, I have something that kind of I can use. Right now, all I'm doing is just kind of getting some sort of silhouette idea of all the different parts. That's all I'm doing. It's not, I'm not thinking about separating them or whatever, which it will be very easy to do. You'll see. I mean, I kind of did a little example of it earlier where I did the masking and Extract Pro. I like using that method a lot, but what I always wonder is when AI is hallucinating, like, is it doing things like this, or like what is the process it's going through to kind of establish? I think it's actually I think it's a 2D thing. I think it starts out with creating some sort of a noise pattern, and then starts kind of honing in. The machine learning kind of kicks in and starts kind of honing that in a little bit more and more and more. Learning face modeling. There's quite a few videos on there. Like, you want to create a human-looking face, or what type of face are you doing? A human face, alien face, what kind of face? Right. Alright, I think I've got this kind of front part is kind of interesting to me, and I like this, what I did here too. So I'm gonna hide this orange part and this blue part, just have the green part here. Right, I'm just establishing the planes of how these things are going to be for now. Let's see, are we doing on time? Okay, about an hour. That's okay. Usually, this process, I usually spend, if I have a project and I'm allowed to play like I am now, I usually spend a day, maybe 2 days, just doing this until I get something compelling. And the reason why I'm saying 2 days is because sometimes that 1 day is just not going to work. Like, you basically just work on something and it just isn't working, and then you just basically go, okay, you give up. And then that's what the second day is for. But most of the times I can whip something out in a day easily. Here I have to do it in 2 hours, but I think we'll get quite a bit of this done by then. Make an eye, like an anatomical eye with like veins and stuff, or what's? I'm kind of having a hard time understanding what you're trying to do. Because eyes are pretty simple. I mean, I'll kind of do it here. And I like the eyes. There's like one model here. I'll do this thing again. I'll just go do the Karma Chameleon thing. I think this guy has got eyes. I'll just use those. Again, I'll load that in. And again, I don't need this guy. I don't need the hair. I don't need the skull on this one. I don't need the gums and teeth. I just need these two eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste these into the other model, and they should just come in right where I need them to be. So this is the lens, and this is the inside part of the eye. So the inside part of the eye looks like this. And I don't know, does this have subdivisions? No, it doesn't. So this is kind of what the inside of the eye looks like. So I'm just going to copy that and go here into this model and paste it. And then I'm also going to do that with the lenses, which are over here. Copy and go into here and say paste. Right, so I've got now eyes in here. This always looks funny, but I'm not going to show this part. I think this part will look good. Now see, the eyes don't really work because I kind of changed the skull a bit. So I can just go ahead and start moving it and arranging it to where it needs to be. So, I mean, obviously the eyes are going to be a little bit bigger and maybe a bit more sunk in. There you go, eyes. Now the trick with eyes is you kind of have to understand the anatomy of how this is concave. It goes in and where the iris is, and there's a hole, and then the veins that are around here. And then there is the part that goes on top, which is this part, which I should have done along with this one. So here. I'm going to do something really cool here. I'm just going to add a folder. So new folder, and just call it eyes. And I'm just going to place this one in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and say transpose add. And let's see. And I don't know why it's not making all the other stuff. Oh. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say transpose sub and then just invert the selection. And I don't know why this is not working. I'm going to try it one more time here, see if I can do it. So I'm going to say transpose sub. Okay, now it's grayed out, and now I'm just going to invert that. And yeah, no. It's going to do the whole head. Okay, so I just want to do the eyes, so I don't know how I'm going to do that. One way of doing it is this. You just go in and mask everything else. Okay, so everything else is masked, I think. So now just the eyes will, yeah, here we go. And now I'm basically scaling them both together so I don't have to match the other one later, which will be difficult. It's already kind of matched. And here I just kind of have to figure out where these go, kind of maybe there. That's good. Maybe move it in a bit. See, I'm basically just working on the two eyes until I get something that's believable. And let me turn on transparency to see inside here. Will that work? Nope. Okay, good. I think this is good enough. Maybe lift them up a bit. All right, cool. And then I'll just go and unmask everything. Hid the green part. All right, so there we are, and let's bring the skull back. All right, so we kind of have this. Any good books for anatomy? Okay, yes, I can suggest good books for anatomy. I can suggest a couple that are really great. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to get them and show them to you. So just give me a second here, and I will be right back. I have these pretty handy so that I can use them when I'm working. All right. So I've got a bunch of books for anatomy. I have like a whole section in my bookshelf. But if I just was going to get one book, this would be it. Anatomy for Sculptors. This book right here is worth its weight in gold. It's really, really good. Just because it's got a lot of great stuff, like you were talking about eyes here. So you can kind of see, You know, it goes through, shows you things to do, things not to do. So I would say this one would be, if you're only going to have one book, this one would be it. The same company has 2 other ones. So anatomy of facial expressions and also head and neck. And all 3 of these books are really, really great. I mean, I would not, I use these all the time. I have them kind of ready to go. And then another really good one is this one right here, Ray Bustos's Ray's Anatomy. This is a newer one that I got that I like a lot. And this one's kind of a little bit more theoretical, but I like this a lot too. So I think if you just have these 3 books or 4 books, you'll be good to go. Let's see. Yeah, the anatomy for sculptors is really good, and also, like you said, it's more of a picture book. So it kind of, if you're an artist, it really resonates well with you. All right, what's going on with this over here? Oh, I dug it in. Okay. All right. So and the eye sockets. I mean, right now this is a skeleton, so there really is no logic. And I'm assuming that the skeleton's just a bone of a creature that they have put this element around. So, there's no logic to the eyes. They're probably like mechanic or electronic eyes or something like that they put in there for him. Now, I don't know what happened to the skull. It lost some detail. I'm going to go back. Oh, I think it got Dynamesh. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. I kind of want a little bit of that detail left just because I need to add to it later. Yeah, but those are the books I would recommend for anatomy. They're great. There's a couple others that I have as well, but there's a lot of anatomy books. And then there are books that basically show you how anatomy works for different artists and kind of tricks and stuff that they use. So yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm kind of liking the skull part. I think it looks a little bit alien, but also has some human aspects to it, which are making it work for me. And the teeth, I mean, they're symmetrical right now, but I will break symmetry on them at some point. Right now, I'm just kind of going with there we go. Okay. All right. I seem to have missed the stream to go live, even though I have a bell clicked. Oh yeah. That's not a silly question at all. That's actually a really good question. So here's kind of the best thing to do is in your browser, just go to ZBrush Live. And if you go to ZBrush Live here, there's a calendar, which I think is broken right now, but they're fixing it. Hello. Here we go. Okay, so if you go here, this should be showing, but there's a calendar here, right here. See that? And if you go there, come on. I don't know why this is so slow. Oh, here we go. Yep. Okay, so here's all the different times that they're on. And not only that, but you can also just click on here and it will add it to your calendar at your time, right? In your time zone. So if you just go to calendar here, you can see it in a calendar view, or you can go to the agenda and just kind of see it in a flowing view. So if you want to catch my next one, which should be coming up here, like right this one, you can just go here and click on it. Remind me, click on this. And then when you click on Remind Me, it will add it to your calendar, whatever you have, and it will come up and tell you that it's going to be on. So that's the best way to catch them live, Ashley. All right. You're saying the top green part can have more weight. Okay. Same, but I don't understand that book. It contains, oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's why I also brought out the Ray Bustos book, because the one that I showed you, it's more visual. So if you're a visual learner, you can learn that more. But if you're not a visual learner, if you want to actually read the book, then the Ray Bustos book is good, and there's quite a few other ones that are really good if you kind of want to would prefer words to pictures. There isn't a lack of anatomy books. There's quite a few. And like I said, I could just bring out that whole section that I have in my bookshelf of all the different books, and they're all super, super useful, and I refer to them all the time, especially if I'm having trouble with a certain section. All right. I'm kind of working really slow today. I don't know why. I usually work a lot faster than this. I think I'm just kind of, it's been a long week. I'm ready for this long weekend. I don't know about you guys. I think Shane Olson streams Monday mornings, which is really smart because he's well rested over the weekend and just ready to go. But I can't do it because I have work usually on Mondays. Okay. All right. I think this is starting to look more and more like Mars Attacks. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. It's pretty good. But see, the thing is, you know, as funky as it looks now, at some point it will click. And when it does, then we just kind of start refining it to get what we want. All right, so let's go ahead and hide all these colors and pick white, see what it looks like as kind of just a single piece. And it looks okay. I think I'm going to add a little bit more bulk over here. All right, let's bring the colors back. Let's do a quick save. And all right, I think I'm just going to quick save this, and I'm going to go back a little bit to the one that I started before, see if I like that more. So I'm just going to go to my quick save here. Hello. Ah, my drive is waking up. Here we go. And this is the one I was working on before. I'll just, no, I'm not going to save changes because I quick saved it. So this was the one I was playing around with before, and it's kind of the similar concept, but I didn't really do multiple pieces. I just did one for this one. And again, I'm kind of unhappy because I started going into secondary and tertiary shapes before I kind of got the volume down, but I think the volume is pretty much okay at this point. So this is just another one that I was working on, and I'm kind of contemplating whether I should do this one or the one we were working on before. But But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy this tool and go back to what we were working on and maybe combine the two. All right, I'm just going to paste the tool. And so now I've got both of them in here. Let's go to actual. All right, so I've got this and I've got this. I've got both. So I'm just going to go in here and copy this and paste it into what I have. The size is kind of different, not a problem. Can just move this gizmo to the center and see if I can combine these two into something interesting. And I did this just exactly the same. Oh, and you know, guess what? It does work. How about that? Sonar, you can definitely ask a question. And boy, do I envy you being new to ZBrush. Being new to ZBrush is so much fun. All right, so I have a copy of this. So I'm not going to care about it. I'm actually going to go ahead and see if I can move things around to show what's underneath. So I don't have symmetry on. I should turn it on before I do any of that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, go ahead and ask your question, Sonar. What is it? What is your question? Oh yeah, you can do that. Okay, so here here's kind of how you do it. Okay, so I'm going to just quick save this, and I think I should be able to use Demo Soldier. I think Demo Soldier is projects. Is it a project or is it a tool? It is a project. Okay, that's fine. I can reload this in. It's not that heavy, but I'll show you. All right, so here's your guy, right? And let's say you went in, you picked the guy, and you resized him. Oh, no, here. There he is. And what you want to do is you want to resize everything else, right? Because you want to match the scale of this guy. So what you do is, and the best way to do it is you just go into, I mean, there's different ways of doing it, but this is the one way to do it. You basically want to activate this button over here. So you're in move mode, you have the gizmo, and at the right of the gizmo there's this button, and this button will scale everything right now, okay, and rotate and move everything. But I don't want to rotate and move the body, so I have to either mask the body. So here I'm just going to go to solo mode here and mask the body. That's one way of doing it. You can do it with folders too. You can do it different ways. Okay, so now I've got the rest of it, and I click on this button. And now all these are different tools, right? So the shirt is a different tool, the backpack is a different tool, gloves, whatever. And now I just go in here, and as I scale, it's going to scale all these down together, right? Until I find the right scale here. Let me zoom in a bit, like about maybe there. Yeah, there it is. That's how you do it. Okay. Yeah, so without merging them together, you can use this kind of transpose all selected subtools option to do it that way. Another way of doing it if you don't want to mask is doing it this way. So again, you can hold Control Shift and choose Select Rectangle and then select this one. But if you hold the Alt key down, it becomes a negative. So now it will make the body not movable. So now I can still scale the clothing, but the body is not being scaled. Okay, so you can either do it with masking or you can do it with selection. But basically, the answer to your question, the trick is this thing right here, the pizza boxes. Okay, and the transpose tool. So hopefully that will help you. Let's get back to what we were working on here. Yeah, it's pretty useful. I mean, it's, you know, again, it's one of these things where every one of the things that we're talking about here is something that they've added that has made life easier. That all of us wonder, like, how did we do things when that wasn't the case? I've been using ZBrush since 2005, so I've seen a lot of things come and go, and you know, just what they've added in that time frame has been ridiculously cool. All right, so this is kind of neat. I kind of like this little protrusion that this added over here. It's kind of making the silhouette a little bit more interesting. Like so, and also it's kind of not making the eye sockets just kind of be sitting somewhere in space. All right, so now I like this, and I have to figure out, I want to add this to one of the pieces. So I think I'm going to add this one to the purple one. So I'm just going to go take this one and merge it down. So now these two are together, like so, right? And I want these to be one piece, right? So I'm just going to Dynamesh them together and fill them with this color. And now this is kind of what this piece is going to look like. There it is. So I've just basically added another piece. And you can bring in other models or things you've worked on before and do the same thing to just get this result. One thing I want to do here is maybe get a little bit more resolution. So I'm just going to move this over to here and Dynamesh it that way. There we go. I just don't want to use some of the detail that I had in there. You're trying to make the legs larger than the body with the boots, etc. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, you know, that'll work for the boots. It'll work for the body. That's how you basically will, you know, choose what is sized together. Oh, you're welcome. All right, I think the colors are making this thing look a little funkier than it is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go for a minute and just do this just to kind of get an idea of what this is going to look like. And this looks pretty good. It looks like something from the game Quake or Doom or something like that. I'm getting that kind of vibe from it. All right, let's turn the colors back on. Continue to refine the shapes until I get what I want. I think at this point I'm going to merge the green and the orange into one, Dynamesh them, and let's just choose orange as the color to fill them in. All right, so I just basically have one shape now instead of two. And all right, so now I'm going to bring in that skull that I had before to see if it adds anything to it. It kind of does. What if it's... I don't want that. I want this to move. What if it does something like this, and it's like a piece of glass or something that comes on top of it? That kind of looks cool too. And I can test this out. I mean, I can do it just easily by using transparency. To see what it would look like, which would look something like this. You get clip curve here. It kind of adds a cool aspect to it. But I don't know if I need the inside parts of the eyes to be like that. So that's easily fixable. I'm just going to inflate them out. So this would be like a glass visor. And then just Dynamesh it. Need more resolution. That's cool. I actually kind of like the faceting. This is what it would look like, and that looks pretty cool too. So you see I've kind of looked at all the reference stuff, and I'm coming out with something completely different from what I'm looking at. It does have some of the elements, but it also has some originality in what I need. So this is going to be kind of a glass piece, and I can test it out just by going in here under visibility and changing. Where are you? Not vector displacement, but where are you? Display? No. Somewhere in here, visibility, and nope, not visibility, but display properties, right? And I'm going to choose I want to make sure I'm on that piece, which I should be. I am. And I can just say under visibility, not visibility, but display properties. Way to make the same mistake twice. And I'm going to go ahead and say I want that to be, well, maybe it's not even here. Where is it? Where do I turn this into being transparent? I think it's no. Did they take that out? No, it has to be in here. Initialize, import, export, perfect bool. No, none of these guys. Vector displacement map. No, normal displacement texture map, UV map. No. Yeah, so yeah, I do want it to be a transparent glass piece, but there is a way you can turn transparency on for a tool, but I can't for the life of me remember. I know, maybe, oh, it's under geometry maybe? No. It's here. It's one of these guys where you basically can say make it transparent. Display properties, double, flip, BPR settings. Is this it? BPR transparent shading. Here we go. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yes, turn it on. So basically it's under display properties and then BPR settings. It just wasn't open. So now that I've turned that on, now if I go ahead and do a BPR render, see, it kind of comes out as a transparent piece. It's a little bit not right. So I'm going to bring the visibility down a bit, give it some shadows, and then let's see what that does. Here we go. Yep. So that kind of shows up, kind of, fake glass type of thing. But this is what it would look like. Just so if I want to get an idea. All right. So this is working. All right, so I'm kind of liking how this is looking. It's looking pretty cool. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and hide that for now, and let's get back to working on these pieces. I think the orange one needs a little bit of love here. So you guys can see that this is completely different than what I was doing, before, where I was just modeling something in ZModeler. This is more like sculpting, but kind of getting to general shapes. And then we will go ahead and make it into more of a hard surface object, and it's pretty easy to do it. All right, I'm actually going to break this off. Let's see if that works better. It does. And I wonder, see here, I'm starting to kind of run out of resolution, so I'm going to re-Dynamesh. All right, so the thing is the skull's kind of, needs to come out a little bit here. Something like this. All right. So here, I think the whole thing is way too wide. So I'm going to use that trick again. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off symmetry, go to the center of the object, and I'm going to try and see if I can change the scale, the proportions. Like, would this look cooler if it was thinner? The answer is no. It would look cooler if it was more like that. The answer is no. I think it's pretty much good like that. Right, so again, all these different subtools, I'm moving them all together just by using the pizza boxes to change the shape of it. Okay, so now let's go back to Demon Standard here. Start. Knocking this one back a bit. And all I'm doing is using just a few brushes, mostly Damien Standard, Move, clay buildup. I would use clay tubes sometimes too. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. Clay tubes. Just a little bit of bulk here. Okay, so I think my smooth brush has reset. Let me make sure. Curve. Nope, it's fine. All right. I think it's just low resolution, that's why. All right, so I'm just going to add a little bit of detail here. Of course, in my head, I'm seeing all the different other objects I'm going to be adding on top of this, little kitbashy parts and whatnot. But in the mean, I just want the whole thing to kind of work as a overall shape. And I think it's working fine. So I think we're going to go ahead with this. I don't think I'm going to scratch it. I think it's a go. So yeah, this could be a character in a video game or in a movie. TV show, whatnot. All right. Do you sculpt? Oh yeah, of course I do. I mean, I use alphas as well, but yeah. That's the most fun part. I mean, it's hard for me. I'm like fighting not doing tertiary details right now. That's kind of, I think, as a developing artist, that's one of the hardest thing to do is to not do tertiary details before you have the primary forms established. When I used to teach at kind of a beginner ZBrush class, not beginner, intermediate, I should say, but it was mostly beginner. Most of the kids didn't know it. I used to tell them that that's kind of the most important thing, is fighting the urge to get into tertiary details too early. And it's really compelling. I mean, that's kind of the most fun part, but you know, you can't help it. But the important thing is the primary forms need to work first. If the primary forms don't work and the secondary forms don't work, then you're wasting a lot of time doing tertiary details on something that's just not going to work. So in order not to waste that time, just make sure that you're all right. So I'm going to kind of change this orange into a different color. So I'm just going to pick this color that I had, but make it a little bit lighter. Well, let's go darker. Fill object. So now we're just kind of in the same realm. Man, I'm getting closer to it. Here we go. So it's not completely different. I don't need it. I don't need that contrast anymore. Right. Didn't like what I did there, backed out of it. I'm hitting the Control Z, but I can always use this timeline up top to do the same thing. All right. So what I want to do is I just want to establish the borders of this helmet at this point. I think I pretty much have what I want. I don't know if I want this part to be as sharp. Hey, Luis Enrique from Brazil. How are you? Okay, so two things. The shader on the eyes, I basically am, I didn't set the shader for it. It's whatever this model right here, where are you? Tool. This one, the Nick Zuccarello human male, whatever material that was, it's the same material. I didn't change it, and I think it is transparent. So if I do a BPR here, you will see the eyes on the inside when you do a BPR. So it is a transparent material. It kind of looks cool when I'm doing this, but I don't know if in the end, if this is kind of the shading I'm going to have for it. And then the thing about the smooth brush. So the smooth brush in ZBrush, when you get it, right? So just the normal smooth, and I'll do it right now. So here, if I go to smooth brush here, right, you will see that the curve that I have is kind of over here, this way. But the smooth brush, if I reset the current brush, so if I do this and say reset, I guess it's not doing it, but basically the default of ZBrush, this is the way the curve is. I just bring this down to maybe about 2 bars. That way the smoothing is not as destructive, and it leaves some of the shape there. It's just a preference that I had. I learned it from one of my ZBrush teachers ages ago, and it's just been a habit of mine. But a lot of artists, prefer the way it is, so it's up to you. But personally, I kind of like a little bit of a lighter smoothing that's not as destructive of the geometry. Um, 6:45 a.m. All right, A363 has rejoined us. Anytime, Luis. Always happy to help my Brazilian friends. All right. Okay. And I'm getting to the point where I don't know if I need these to be separate anymore, so I'm going to join them together. Okay, so I have this whole thing as one piece, and I'm going to Dynamesh it, and I'm going to Dynamesh it at higher resolution. Let's see, what do we got here? Let's pick, let's pick the highest we can get. Like 1,000 is good. Anything over 1,000 is fine. So I'm just moving over here until I find, here we go, 1024, there we go. And then I do Dynamesh, and then I'll just fill the whole thing with one color. So now it's just one color. I mean, you do get a little bit of artifacting here from the two things merging together, but you can easily polish them up. So now this is kind of what the helmet is looking like, which is fine. And I just kind of will work on this exact same thing until I get something that I like. And then start kind of popping out the pieces into individual pieces and refining them. But right now it's just all really rough clay, so to speak. The project files, after I'm done, I usually don't, just because it's kind of my work. I don't know what you would, what use they would be to you if you had them. I did entertain selling the ATST, the one that we did in the last stream, but I don't know. I'll have to figure out a way to do it. I don't want to go through like Sketchfab or TurboSquid or any of those services. I don't want to sell my work on there. But that's some food for thought. But that's kind of a known object. This is kind of, my work, so I don't understand what the benefit would be to actually have this model. And if you kind of like it, you watched me make it, so you can kind of maybe work on your version of it, which would be cool. All right, so the thing about Dynamesh is it kind of mushes things up a bit, so I'm kind of trying to reestablish some of my planes here. All right, let's bring this back. This is working so well. I kind of like the faceting that's going on here, and I want to see if I can incorporate that into the glass somehow. What's going on here? That's all cool. That's all cool. Let's do a few renders, just kind of get an idea of what this is looking like with the glass piece. I think there's a way to make this a little bit more realistic looking, the glass. I think if you go to the render menu and go to BPR transparency, I think you can do some things here. Surface normals, bicolor, C factor, refraction factor. Let's change that a bit. Didn't do much. Still nothing. How about this N factor? Here we go. The normal factor is kind of cool. Here we go. This kind of makes it more like glass. I mean, it's, I can always use the redshift stuff, but I don't want to. I just want kind of a quick render just to kind of get an idea of what the inside would look like. Okay, so that's all good. And I keep taking this back and forth, trying to get an interesting thing here. see some stuff coming up in the chat. How many polygons? Yeah, it says right here, right? So the total points, including this build folder, which doesn't show, is about 161,000 polygons. So right now I'm pretty light. I'm not heavy at all. This is a very lightweight model. And I want to keep it this way for the primary forms. I don't want to get too bogged down with poly count. Of course, once we start kind of accepting things, then we'll subdivide and retopologize and do all that good stuff. But for now, I think we have a good, 100,000 so polys is not bad of a. I mean, I can do this kind of stuff in Blender. It doesn't have all the tools, of course, but it can handle this geometry. But once you get into the millions, Blender just can't do it. I had a person that I was trying to help at a company the other day mentioned that to me. He's like, well, Blender can't do this. And I'm like, yeah, it can't. There's only a few tools that can do it, and ZBrush is the best one for it. All right, I just have to get this angle to be more interesting. And right now this is all kind of mushing together, but of course eventually it's going to be separate pieces. So, I think next time what we'll do, how are we doing on time? Oh, it's almost time. Next time what I'll do is I'll show you guys how you can take these pieces and separate them out into their own individual parts, and then start kind of adding detail to those parts. But I think overall for today, I was kind of really worried that I wasn't really going to have something, but I'm really happy with what we've been able to do in this short period of time. So yeah, so it looks like this is going to be a go. All right, I'm going to kind of change the color of this thing from this blue to something darker. And I'm also going to change the material just to kind of see what the specular looks like. Maybe that's a bit too dark. I just want to kind of figure out like what the specular is going to look like. So I just changed the material a bit just to see kind of where I can add some highlights to the object. So I might play around, just do kind of what I'm doing right now if I have some time over the next couple of weeks, and refine this a bit further, but I will not break it up into parts. I'll do that live while you guys are watching. But you don't need to see me do this more because it's, I spent a couple hours doing it, and I think you guys have a really good idea of what I'm doing. But of course, if I don't have time, then I'll be doing a little bit more of this at the beginning of the next stream. Which again is 2 weeks from now on Friday. Right. Let's bring this in. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, this is going to look pretty gnarly when it's done. And like I said, I'm going to do a full body for this. It's not just going to be the head, but I need to get the head. The head is going to be kind of the biggest component of it, so I need to make sure that it's working well. And I must say that this is a lot more fun than typing in a prompt and then waiting for 4 images and then saying this one looks okay, and then waiting again for the next 4 and then doing that forever. God. turn perspective on just to see what it looks like in perspective. 35 millimeters, 50. All right, I think it's good, and I think we're getting to a point where I'm pretty happy with it. Oh, Omicron, how am I going to separate the parts? Well, here, yeah, sure. I'll kind of do a preview of what we're going to cover more of next week. So the one piece that kind of has a lot of compose. When did this happen? There we go. Okay, this piece here is the one that has the most components. So let's say in this piece, this is looking pretty good on its own. Let's say I want to separate out this top part, right? So let's say this part right here I want to separate out. So I'm going to turn off poly paint, or let me just choose a brighter color. Right, so let's say I want to just separate out this part, right? So I'm just going to do this like that and just mask it. Now, there are ways of doing this in ZBrush proper, but I actually used this plugin, which was a few dollars. That was well worth it, and it does a few steps in one shot for me, so I kind of like it. And that thing is called Extract Pro. So if you don't have that plugin, then you basically will go to Geometry. No, it's not on Geometry. It's under Subtool, and at the bottom of Subtool, I think Extract. And you just do Extract, and it just extracts whatever piece you have masked. But I'm going to use the plugin, which will do a bunch of other things. It will zero mesh it for me and do a bunch of other things. Okay, so here it is. Now the thing to do is in the mask, just go and sharpen it. So I'm just going to go to masking here, sharpen the mask, and that kind of gives me the clear borders of where that is. And then I just use that plugin, which I'll use it from the plugins menu. So here's the plugin. And it's called Extract Pro Plus. It's just a button, you just press it, and then it just goes and does its thing. And now I've got this piece here that is its own piece, right? So now that's separated out. It's not perfect, right? But it's almost there. The edges are kind of funky, so what I usually do with the edges is hopefully it's put an edge loop all the way around, which it has here. Sometimes it doesn't. But then I can just delete that edge loop. So it's one, and I'm just going into the ZModeler here and just say delete. Where are you? Delete poly loop, and just delete this loop. And so now the edges are a little bit nicer, right? And then I have another plugin which adds thickness. And gosh, what was that one called? Did I put it in here in my UI? No, but it's I mean, you can do it this way too. You can just go into here and turn on dynamic, which will subdivide it twice, but you don't want to do that. You just want to add thickness. So I'm just adding thickness to it, and there it is. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that some of the edges are a little bit wobbly, so you can very easily go in and just smooth those down just a little bit. And then what I like to do is just put some edge loops on around here. So I'll just go in here under group loops, under geometry, and just add one loop with no polish, with very little polish, no triangle group loops. So what that does is it just adds this other edge loop on the edge, which kind of gives me a nicer border, right? And then once I'm happy with it, I just say apply, and now I've got this piece, right? So now this top part is its own separate piece that I can, you know, add detail to or whatever. And that's how I do it, Omicron. So it's just a pretty simple process. And if there are multiple pieces, then I, you know, do them all, you know, separately. One of the challenges is to match the seams, but it's I figured I've gotten pretty close to figuring that out too. So there it is, right? So now I've got this one separate piece on top, that's its own piece, and I can just go in and sculpt on it separately. Now, I usually don't do the separation first, so I still, before I go to dynamic, I do the sculpting on it, and then once I'm done sculpting on it, then that's when I add the thickness to it. Yeah, so the next stream, we're basically, I'll be doing a little bit more of this off camera, but doing similar things, and then once I'm done, next time we'll kind of break it out into pieces. So I'm going to finish the head first. That's going to be the goal, is to finish the head first, and then once I'm done with finishing the head, we'll start working on a body, yeah, so that's going to be that. Anyway, we're at time, so I would like to, let's see if this works. It does. Okay, so I want to wish you all a good night and happy ZBrushing wherever you are, and I'll see you in a couple of Fridays. And if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. And thanks for watching, and